My name's John Bailey. I do the John Bailey Quintet. I play classical guitars, nylon string electric guitars, and also composer music. Also in the quintet is Richard Iles on flugelhorn, Tim France on tenor sax, Gavin Barras on double bass, and Steve Hanley on drums.
Hi there.
The compositions that I write draw heavily from 20th century classical music, Britten, Brouwer, Arnold, also choral, minimalist music, Arvo Part, Taverner, simple melodies, and also the sort of European jazz sound and the ECM kind of atmosphere. I'm based in Preston. Steve and I met at Leeds College of Music in 2010, I think, and we performed as a duo for a while. We then asked Richard and Tim and Gavin to join, and we've eventually become a quintet. We released a quartet album before this one. Richard's based in Prestwich, Tim is based in Altrincham, Gavin in Glossop, and Steve in Leeds. If I was going to sum up the sound of the quintet in a couple of sentences, I'd say it was a very European sound, a very 20th century classical music sound. There's lots of elements of classical harmony and choral harmony based on kind of the importance of simple notes, simple rhythmic ideas, inversions of melodies, unusual harmonies, non-jazz harmony, non-jazz functions of harmony, and putting them into a situation where we can improvise over them in a jazz sort of way. So initially my kind of entrance into music, into playing an instrument, was rock based. It was heavy metal based, and it became heavier and heavier and heavier, and more technical, more fast and more difficult. And I used to play in a band called Micro Sleeper, and it was kind of a three-piece, what you call a grind band, and we experimented with all sorts of things, strange time signatures, super fast, incredibly harsh, building really horrible noises. The music mellowed out, the band disbanded, and then I started playing more jazz-based stuff. But really I got my kind of technical abilities and my initial knowledge of theory and scales and things from playing super heavy grindcore.
I grew up in a tiny little part of Devon, and I didn't really know much about jazz and music before I went to Leeds College of Music. I went there and suddenly had a big shock, realised I had a lot of work to do. But it also opened my eyes up to lots of different types of music and lots of different avenues that you can take your music in. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be straight ahead, it doesn't have to be contemporary, it doesn't have to be any of these things, as long as it speaks to you, as long as it's personal. Music's such a personal thing. When we started, the fact that actually you and me were so different and came from such different places actually has probably been the main influence in projecting the music and in the direction that it's gone in. I know they're your compositions and everything, it's your original material and you've written it. But when we bring them to the rehearsals, I think it's those ideas that we had 4 or 5 years ago that are now starting to flourish, I think, now.
I never ask Steve, I never give Steve any parts whatsoever to play, because I know that whatever he does is appropriate, and it's so important. It just wouldn't be able to replace that contribution, I don't think. There's so much kind of so much of a patchwork of things that have happened between us musically, live and recording and talking, that it's just unspoken now. It's like, here are the tunes, and Steve will say, I've got no idea what to do with that, and I'd just say, yeah, you do, and you'll be all right with it.
And I think the music that we play is very open and it's very creative, and there's not a point where any of us are like, we must do this here and we must do that there, apart from when we're playing the melody. It's just pure improvisation.
It's the immune system, that's what it is. I think it was Keith Jarrett I was watching a few weeks ago, saying about improvisation. It takes it out of your immune system so much, because you're constantly trying to be as in the moment as you can. It's like meditation, I suppose. You've got to be right there and focused, and every time you drift, you've got to try and come back. If you drift, you've got to come back, and it's like a constant resetting of the way that you're taking on board all the information around you.
Being part of the Northern Line scheme, I think it's a great privilege to be like a jazz ambassador for the North. But I truly believe that's what we're doing as Northern Line artists. We're representing fine creative music coming from the North. It doesn't just have to come from London.
I'd like the audience members to react, or not even to react really, to just let the music affect them in as honest a way as they can let themselves let it affect them. Just to be as open to it as possible, to go with the ebb and flow. All the harmony that I've written is designed to be a key for somebody's brain. So every chord, every piece of melody, every rhythmic idea is supposed to unlock something. And it isn't necessarily sadness or happiness or something. It can be very subtle. So if I've done my job correctly in trying to express myself as I feel, as accurately as I can, then I hope that they would feel the same way.